myself to you, Savannah. my gloves hidden under the bed. And I tried not to fight you. I tried to believe every word you said. But you talked in circles and you made my head spin. Your words are walls and you locked me in. But that's on me because I gave my consent. But I'm taking it back. I'm taking it back. Said I'm taking it back. I gave my consent, but now I'm taking it back. My restless hunger wakes me from the soundest, safest sleep. Ooh, it's a rolling thunder, rolling, turning, churning way down deep. Trapped in a pattern, but I gotta break free. You're not the only one to tell me what I need. I gassed up the car and I gave you the key, but I'm taking it back. I'm taking it back. I said I'm taking it back. What kind of person gives a heart to someone else? 'Cause now it's time and I'm standing by myself, yeah. I'm going broke because of all my time that you spent. You said you'd be there for me, but baby, where you been? I gave you so much of me that now I'm growing thin. And worst of all, I let you take my fire from within. But I'm taking it back. I said I need you, but I take it back. I said I trust you, but I take it back. I said okay, but I take it back. Underneath your folded arms, path headed from lung to tongue. It's toward your love I lean. Savannah, you rock me like a baby. Savannah, you love me like a lady. Savannah, your ways intoxicate me. All that I can do is give myself to you, Savannah. Feels like a dream to me, yeah. Sometimes the world can be so hostile, but right now I'm where I belong, yeah. Heavy like eyelids, light as a sleepy smile. You let me sing my song. Savannah, you rock me like a baby. Savannah, you love me like a lady. Savannah, your ways intoxicate me. All that I can do is give myself to you, Savannah. To you, Savannah. Oh, oh, oh. Savannah.
Welcome, one and all, to 20 Question Tuesdays. My name is Jeff Plankenhorn, and this is how we do it. Man, hearing that beautiful music from our guest today, Akina Adderley, what a wonderful way to start. Just a little bit of housekeeping. For those who don't know, 20 Question Tuesdays is my little talk show where one day early on during the pandemic, I turned on my screen. I'm a singer-songwriter from Austin, Texas, up on Vancouver Island right now, where my wife and I have been spending time with family and kind of waiting out the pandemic. And I turned on my camera and I started taking questions like a workshop, and I had guitar players, and I had songwriters, and I had people who didn't know anything about music but just wanted to talk about it, and it was beautiful. And then Sheila Steele over at Austin Music TV said, hey, would you like to put this on television? And I said, sure. So then I got this funky, cool app, and I was able to stream out to multiple platforms. That's what this means. This means streaming out to multiple platforms. I don't know. And then I saw a little button down at the bottom with a person and a plus sign, and I said, you know what? Be much more interesting if I had guests. And I think my first guest was maybe Michael O'Connor, and then I had Jamie Harris, and then I had Bill Kirchin, and then I had Ruthie Foster, and then I had Ray Wiley, and it's just been wonderful every single week. Number one, to stay connected with my people in Austin from so far away and from other cities as well. But also just to have a way for us to all have great conversations about music. And it's really beautiful. So again, a little bit of housekeeping. Let's see. There will be no online resentment show this week because the Resentments Sans Plank will be starting back up at the Saxon Pub. So if you are in Austin and enjoy a socially distant, safe show, you can see them live. And I encourage you to do that if you are interested. And but thank you to everybody who's been to all the Together Alone shows over the past year. It's meant the world to me, being able to play with those guys as well, even if it is on like an a cappella recorded thing. Also, thanks everybody who showed up for my show last night, From Here to There. I do that on Monday nights, where I play my own music. It was a really fun show last night, and thanks for the great requests and letting me try out a fully acoustic set for this other thing I got going on. That will be replayed on Austin Music TV tonight at 8 p.m. Central. And I think that's it for the housekeeping right now. And without further ado, we got a lot of great questions already. The questions come from the audience for this show, and they basically come from YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. And it's part of the beauty of why I like doing this show so much, because I've already got questions that are just super cool, and we're going to have a lot of fun talking. Without further ado, Akina Adderley, hello.
Hello.
You sound great. Okay, we always kind of check the sound. We never know until we actually go out live
Right.
if it's going to, sound the same. But everything sounds great to me right now, so we're going to just dive right in. How are you?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I'm well for sure. Like I said, I'm kind of sequestered up here, but there are worse places to be stuck than Vancouver Island, right on the edge of summer.
Yeah, I feel like that's not bad. That's
It
really
doesn't
not
suck.
bad.
It
Yeah.
doesn't suck, and I'm getting lots of time to write. And I don't know about you, but I do a lot of writing via Zoom and via things like this. And I've actually found that it's kind of great because everybody's in their own personal comfort zone when they
Yep.
write, and like I'll be playing and you'll be writing and you'll be playing and I'll be writing, and so I've really enjoyed that kind of thing too, and all the things which we're going to talk about with you, of all the things that we've had to kind of reinvent ourselves to be resilient through COVID. And we talked about it before the show, but it's also come through in some of the questions that I've already gotten for you, so I'm kind of excited to get to some of those. I always like to start with something kind of softball. And,
Great.
because why not? But this is a great question, and you are the person that I would love to talk to about this. Lee Cadoret wants to know from you, what kinds of habits and practices do you do to take care of your voice? Now, we've had...
Oh my gosh.
I don't know about you, but singing in this little thing is like, you can't, project like you're used to. You have to learn how to
Right.
re-sing in like a little tiny space, and doing all these online shows and stuff like that. So throughout the pandemic and before the pandemic and moving on, like what are your thoughts on that? You could jump into a couple of them just for anybody who's interested.
Whew, I have kind of a lot. So in terms of like general maintenance, obviously hydration is key. Also just being
Word.
aware, right? Yep, got my,
Oh yeah,
mhm,
it's always around.
It's always around. And also just being aware that your voice is your instrument, and it's real nerdy, and like you're gonna be the nerd in your like group of friends at like an event or whatever. But if you're a trumpet player and you're bringing your trumpet around, you're gonna like hold it gently. You're gonna not like bang it on things. You know what I mean?
That
So
is such
same
good
with your
advice, though. I
voice.
love that analogy.
It's your instrument. So like if I mean, it's been a long time since I've been at a sporting event, but when I'm at like sporting events and people are like shouting and what have you, I kind of am like, woo! Like I just like I like to like I guess I like to like have my face look like I'm really wooing, but it's like a woo,
Yeah,
and I
They don't know.
get
They're
made
all
fun of,
screaming
but I'm like,
anyway.
exactly, like y'all don't need my voice in the scream. And honestly, like that took practice to not scream in other situations where everybody else is screaming. Sorry if you hear my dog barking. That's just part of this
No, we
whole
like dogs here.
situation.
Everybody's dog people. It's cool.
But yeah, just so like being mindful of how I use my voice, and like even in, okay, so for example, like a loud club, a loud music venue,
Yeah.
which again,
Yeah.
haven't been in one of those in a while either. But after the show or before the show, the other band is super loud, or the piped in music is super loud. So other people are like kind of screaming at each other to talk, and I'll just get right up on an ear and just talk normally because I'm not trying to scream at people.
Yeah.
I also, if things are happening, I have a personal steamer that I got from, I think, Walgreens. Super dope. And I drank a lot of throat coat tea with honey and a little
You're
apple
into the
cider
throat
vinegar.
coat. Now, honey, I'm
Oh yeah.
into apple cider vinegar. That's another really great one. Sorry, I'm going to
Mhm.
interrupt because it's the
No,
nature
please.
of this thing. But since I'm always famous for name drops on here, you know, the first person who I ever, and I don't care, I'm not above that at all. If I can make myself appear one rung higher on the entertainment ladder,
Right.
leaned against the wall of illusion and broken dreams, then I'm gonna do it. But the first person I saw who ever took a steamer out on the road and had one on the bus was Adam Levine. And
Really?
he was the first cat. I was in a band that was opening up for him on the road, and it was when Maroon 5 just came out with songs about Jane. He was the first guy I saw who was
Oh, wow.
really into his steamer. And that was way back. I'm talking like 2003. I was like, what is this thing? He's like, oh, yeah, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do
Got to
it.
do it.
And I was like, all
If
right,
ever
cool.
I'm like feeling like my allergies are bothering me a little bit, or if I have something big, like, you know, the couple times I've played like the Moody Theater, like bigger gigs like
Yeah,
that, or the Paramount or whatever, I'm busting out the steamer. I got to be tip top.
yeah.
And I
And they're
also,
not
this is
very expensive. You can get one at
no,
like a Walgreens or a place of this kind of ilk. They're not terribly
oh yeah,
expensive, and
like
they
20 or
do what
30
they
bucks
do.
or whatever. Yeah,
Right? Worth it.
super
You know
worth it.
what
Oh, I mean,
else?
and it's lasted forever. I also, this isn't directly related to the voice, but I have a stationary bike, and I try to
Mm,
get on it just at the end of the day when you're like kind of like gonna sit around watching an episode of TV or whatever. I
you're
just
gonna
get on the
binge
bike,
something.
and that just helps me keep my lung capacity decent. You know what I'm saying?
Well, people don't realize necessarily that a little bit of exercise can go a long way in helping things like voice and mental health as well.
It's true.
Now, do you
Oh yeah.
find my first voice teacher when I was in high school, who I love so much? She's an Irish woman named Mary Irvine, and when she would call to her son who was outside playing, she'd go, Jonathan, and she just everything was singing. You know, she's
I do
opera.
that.
Right. Because what she told me, and you might be able to talk about this too, is that we change because of society, like where the natural pitch of our voice is and where we
Yep.
talk. And so men want to talk down like this because it makes us feel cooler, when
Yep.
actually that's hard on my voice. So if
Yes.
I want to do this, but it's also weird because maybe the natural speaking voice is a little bit up here, but it feels strange to me when I talk more out of my head voice.
But that's
And
where
it
your
takes
resonance is.
training. It takes training. It takes training to really find out, like, no, you don't sound ridiculous, Jeff, when you talk out of
Yeah.
your head voice. You're just making it a little easier on your voice. And for women,
Yes.
it's in a different place, but it's a similar thing.
Oh, it's totally similar. I had a horrendous case of laryngitis I don't know, 10ish years ago, and I was shocked because like I do all the things that we just talked about for vocal health. I warm up before I sing every single time, a rehearsal, a recording date, a gig. I warm up kind of religiously because I have an opera background too, and it's just like you have to warm up. That's just
It's
part of
yeah, you got
the
it.
gig.
You got to do it.
So I was shocked that I got laryngitis, and of course, it happened to be the day of my first CD release show
Mm,
in Austin.
Of
It was
course
so
it
sad.
was.
Of course it was. It was like, of course, of course.
Of
So anyway, I
course
went
it
to
was.
this. Yeah, and so I went to the ENT, and they referred me to a like speech pathologist, and I was like, I don't feel like that's what I need. And then the lady basically, long and the short of it was, she was like, you sing correctly, and you warm up, and you do all the things. You are singing correctly. You are speaking hella incorrectly. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's
oh.
yeah, it's super right. Our friend Kathy McCarty is here right now, and she says in the comments, hi, Kathy, nice to see you. But she says, this is fascinating. I knew none of this. This is really stuff that But we don't know until someone tells us. And what's
Yep.
crazy about it that my voice teacher said too, which is beautiful, and I like to think about, and I don't put in practice enough, is she says the way we sang when we were a child is
Mhm.
almost perfect. The way we talked when
Ah.
we were a child is almost perfect. It's like you sing out of the top of your head, you raise
Uh-huh.
your soft palate, you
Uh-huh.
look like you're surprised when you sing,
Yep.
you do
Oh my
all the
God.
things you were supposed to do, you naturally do when you're a kid. And society
Uh-huh.
just makes us smush it all down with,
Yep.
I'm insecure, I'm talking, I'm trying to be cool, I'm this,
Yep.
and it basically society ruins your voice. Is
It's
is
true.
is
I what I thought about it and I was thinking about why like the reason that I was misusing my speaking voice. Um, and I what I came up with was that I'm real little. I'm like the size of a child, and I'm a teacher. So I think that what I was doing was like to sort of counteract the fact that I like physically look like these children I'm supposed to be teaching. I kind of like wanted to give my
perfect.
voice some gravitas
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
you
so
wanted
I
to,
could seem
you know.
authoritative. And it was just frying my pipes, frying them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating, and you are right, Kathy. This is great stuff to be talking about. And see what a perfect example, Lee Cataret, who's also known as Doctari. That's a great question and a great way for us to get started. And hey, thanks, Lady D, for putting that in there. We do take tips, and basically all I'm looking for, people, is to keep the show going and to make sure that my guest gets a little bit of gas money or is able to do like get some takeout for one night or something. Okay, so I always split the tips with my guest, and if you're interested or you don't mind or you enjoy the show, that's a wonderful thing you can do to show your appreciation, keep the show going, keep the wheels on. But my guest this week is Akina Adderley. Oh, let's do that right. There we go. Oh, wait. There we go. There we go. There we
There it is.
go. There we go. Thank you so
Technology.
much. Oh, and Kathy says, I'm going to have to change the entire way I talk. You know,
Check it out.
you really have to just, it's once you start considering it and you're conscious of it,
Mhm.
you remember really, really, really quick. You really, really quick. You just start raising it up into your head voice
Mhm.
and stuff, and stop singing from down here, especially if you're a
Yep.
dude. Dudes, man, we think we're
Ugh.
gonna be cool and sing,
Yeah.
and it's just so bad for your voice. You can
It's
get
so
away with it for
bad.
like 10 years, and then you're like, oh, wait a second. Oh, wait, I'm not the truck I thought I was.
Yeah.
You know. Let's get into some other fun questions because we've got some really, really cool ones. I like this question from our friend Kate Howard. I'm not sure exactly why she asks you this question, but I have a feeling I know why. She
Ooh,
says,
okay.
Kate wants to know, do you find it easier to remember your own lyrics or another writer's? I've never had that
Oh,
question asked
wow.
before.
That is an excellent question. It I guess my own, but there's a couple of little caveats with that. So
Caveats?
first of
Yeah.
all, in general, I remember songs that have like a narrative of some kind of a point A,
Uh-huh.
point B, point C.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas list songs, I'm wretched at remembering. I have covered Led Zeppelin's "Trampled Underfoot" like
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know 100 times, and I literally all of those times have had a cheat sheet on the ground because
Oh,
there's
yeah.
nothing, there's no like through line. It's just like this thing, then this thing, then this
Yeah.
thing. You know what I
List
mean? There's
song.
no,
Yeah.
so I couldn't commit it to memory. Now, having said that, I definitely have turned around at a gig singing my own song, and
Yeah.
we've started a song, and I've turned around to my bass player and been like, "What is the first line of this song?"
I
And
think that's
thank God,
human.
he always hooks me
It's
up.
human.
But like
Yeah.
that first word, even of my own song, or that first line, often just like escapes for a moment. And once you get that first line, you're good to go. But man, whoo, that first line. And actually, so I did my first uh performance in front of like humans in the same place yesterday,
Right. Oh,
and
fantastic.
it
How
was
was that,
great.
by the way?
It was fantastic. It
And you
was
felt comfortable?
I did. It was outside, and it was super socially distant, and it was celebrating the unveiling of a project called the Resilience Project. It's a mural
Nice.
on
Yep.
E.M. Franklin, like just
Yep.
east of like the Moose Lodge, if you know where that is. And the artist was there. The organization is called Raisin in the Sun. Raisin is the head artist there, and in the mural, she celebrated. The contributions of several Black teachers and activists and community members in the last, 50-ish years in East Austin. It was so awesome.
A lot of people have
So
put that online, and I've been able to see it by proxy.
it's
It's
gorgeous.
beautiful.
Oh my God,
It's
it's gorgeous.
I'm getting kind of chills thinking about it because it's just like it's just heavy in the right way. You
It really,
know what I
exactly.
mean? You know what I
And some of the
mean?
folks who are honored in the mural were there to speak, and some of the like family members of deceased folks in the mural were there to speak on behalf of their family. It was so beautiful. But yeah, so I sang, and since it was my first one back in front of humans in the same space, I was so nervous I was going to forget the words. So I literally had the lyrics to my own songs that I wrote
Yeah,
because I just
yeah.
was so nervous. Even though I've done these live streams and I've performed songs for humans, just not in the same area where I could like look at them in the face. And so I just was like, what if I forget all my words? So I had them there. But to answer the original question, I think that typically I remember mine more. Part of it is when you write, like physically write words in your own hand. I don't really know the science of this, but it helps you commit stuff to memory. And I'm old school. I write. I don't mess with a computer. So just the fact that I wrote the words in my hand is part of what helped commit it to memory, I think.
I think that's really, really good advice across the board anyway. Especially anybody who has any kind of a jazz background, you're going to have so many standards. Even if you're coming up with your own new ways of doing them, you have to have quite a lot of repertoire. And
Yep.
you have to have a lot of stuff committed to memory anyway. And sometimes those damn things meld together, and you're like, wait a second, I'm singing
Which two
April
is
in
this?
Paris, but this is actually, Moonlight in Vermont, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, how did I do this? And but then I think it's absolutely true. I was reading a really great book by Stephen King, and I've never read any Stephen King, but I love his book about writing
Oh,
novels and stuff. It's great. It's called On Writing. Talked about it last week on my show with Allie Holder. And
uh-huh.
it's a really, really great book for anybody who writes anything or does any kind of art. And he talks about how like some people would actually like write out novels they loved and just write them. Like they'd take a Hemingway novel if they were a novelist and they would just write it. And the reason was they wanted to feel what it felt like writing those words. And I remembered that anytime I'm learning a song, writing out the lyrics is the best way for me to actually commit it to memory,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, it's absolutely the best way to commit it to memory. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's super, super great question and something to think of that kind of goes along with what you're saying. Very cool.
Oh, Abby
I don't
dog,
know
give it
why.
up. Oh, girl, that dog,
Who's that?
she
Allie
is
Holder?
really going at it. No, my
Yeah,
Abby
yeah.
dog is just barking up
Oh,
a storm
Abby's
right
going
now.
at it. Oh, what kind of dog?
She is some kind of mutt. I don't know.
I love mutts. We love our rescues are both mutts. One of them's kind of a corgi terrier mix, so he kind of looks like a
Hmm.
loaf of bread, but he knows he's the queen's dog. He knows he's the queen's dog for sure. And then the other
Hmm.
one is kind of like a mix of miniature schnauzer and terrier. They're both little dogs with big attitudes, but not total ankle biters. And rescues, both from Austin. They don't know what's going on in Canada. The first time they saw snow, they both were just like, "What the hell?"
What is
So,
this?
yeah, they loved it though. Okay, so let's keep going because we got lots and lots of great questions, and I want to get into a video. We've talked a little bit in regards to that mural, in regards to stuff like. Okay, so there's a really, really beautiful question. I have my friend who's a DJ over at KPFT in Houston, Susan Darrow,
Oh, yeah.
and Susan has just an absolutely great question, and it might be a hard one to answer, but it'll bring us to some other things, and it'll also bring us to the video that I want to play today of
Okay.
yours. She says, "It's moving to hear your song Broke with its message of social justice. Today, which is the anniversary of George Floyd's death," she says, which which everybody should know. That's me speaking. If you were to write a sequel, what would it be?
Oof.
To
Oh,
Broke.
wow.
I
That is an
know. Let's
excellent
take a
question.
second. Let's take a second and unpack that because I think it's it's kind of worth it. I mean, let's just think about that
Sequel.
for a second. Yeah. I mean,
So
first, go ahead.
I guess it behooves me to for anybody who's joining us who hasn't heard the song. I guess it
I'll
behooves
get it
me to
ready while you're
briefly.
talking.
Oh, okay. To
Go ahead.
briefly just say that it's about it was both narrowly about you know people getting off their bums and getting involved and voting
Active.
and activism and all those sorts of things, um, but largely sort of communicating to um, American society that we did this. The problems that we are facing are not just like out of nowhere. These are because of choices that we have made, whether conscious or unconscious, choices that our forefathers and foremothers made, and it is incumbent upon us to do something about it. It is no longer the time to kind of talk about wouldn't it be nice if America were more just and more fair in this way or that way. It's we have to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
the hook is you broke it, you bought it. Um,
Yep.
so the a sequel to that for now. I mean, we're not yet. We have not yet achieved what I kind of set out to inspire us to achieve in the song. So I don't know what that means for the sequel. I will say this: the single I'm working on now that I'll release sometime this summer is called "Home Before Dark," and it's basic. It kind of almost
Oh.
does serve as a sequel, and it's
Oh.
basically about like, okay, this is our shot. Like, are we going to be good to each other? Are we going to address our problems? Are we going to support each other and honor each other and do right by each other, or and are we going to do it before it's too late? So that kind of is the sequel. It's sort of like a denouement, if you will. It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I said it
Now, Home
loud. I'm gonna
Before
say it
Dark.
quiet one more time.
The first image that brings to me is the talk that
Yep.
mothers, African American mothers have to have, Black Americans have to have that white American mothers don't,
Yep.
and and the talk being, what you have to do and how you have to get home before dark and how you have to act in a different way than other people do.
Yep.
And I mean, honestly, that makes sense as a fitting sequel because we're not done by any stretch of the imagination. Is it great to see these people coming out as allies? Yes.
Sure.
Is it I've known people in different parts of the world with lack of understanding that really feel like they were brought up. They really feel like they were brought up without racism.
Mm.
And because they were in this bubble
Mm-hmm.
and they felt like, well, we're not.
Right.
And usually my thing to them was, well, where are the black people?
Right.
And
Exactly.
then this look would go over their face, and they'd be like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, do you think they just don't like the weather here? Or people go where there's opportunity, and people go where they feel like I have a chance to make something here, and people go, and so there's a reason. And it brings up really interesting discussions because you want people to be that ally, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And if they lived in that bubble where they just don't know, they're just kind of like, and it's like, jeez, it's not my job to explain, but anyway, I want to just stop talking and listen more and go to your song "Broke" that we were just talking about. And thank you, Susan, for that great question. And we will
Hi,
look
Susan.
forward. We will look forward to Home After Dark. But for right now, everybody, I'm gonna play this beautiful beautiful song, and I'm gonna do it right for once and get rid of the captions and make it all come up perfectly, like a true
Technology.
professional.
I believe in you.
man. Let's start with first of all, the video is absolutely brilliant and
Isn't it
beautiful
great?
and
I love it.
so well put together and so smart as well. Some of those images, from Shirley Temple and I mean, so many of those images, you know, just things that don't look away from and look at them and think about it and uh, um, I love how that's got funk, but it definitely has some jazz to it, especially at the end. The set of
Hmm.
changes that kind of bring that outro, absolutely
Yeah.
gorgeous. You got a little bit of
Thanks.
neo soul guitar at the end, but then the solo. Who's taking a guitar solo on that?
Carter Arrington, baby.
Oh, it's Carter.
It's
Oh,
Carter, dude.
I was
It's
gonna
Carter.
guess. I was gonna guess. I was looking at one of Carter's videos this morning online. He puts up pretty wild videos
Yeah.
on his Instagram and stuff.
He's a
Oh,
beast.
beautiful, beautiful. What's that?
He's a beast.
He is a beast and a great cat as well.
Yeah.
Personally, that was just beautiful. I'll tell you what. Towards the end of the thing here, we'll put up the link to that so people can go to the YouTube and you need to
Yeah.
share it too. You need to share that video and get people to see it.
Yeah.
I'm talking to the people online. Best thing you can do when you hear new music these days, everybody. Here's a little PSA for you. We live in this new kind of thing where everything's free, to quote the Gillian Welch song,
That's a good song.
uh, she also says very eloquently in that song, they figured it out. We're going to do it anyway, even if it doesn't pay, because we're lifers, we're musicians, and
That's right.
unfortunately, we've had to figure out other ways to do it. But things that you can do. Share that video on
Yes.
on your thing and say, hey, this really
Please.
really hit me. It's really really beautiful. I think you should check it out too. And when you go to like Spotify or you go to Apple Music or you go to whatever, don't just listen to it 300 times. Hit the heart. Spotify looks at that, make a playlist and put it on with a bunch of songs, put it next to other songs. They want to know that you're bringing new artists and new people to, they want to know that you're bringing new people to their platform. So one of the best things you can do is share and follow playlists and really get somebody's music out there. And if all these people who are saying really cool things in the chat right now, like
Yeah.
Baron, wow, how powerful is that? What a great song! And this video is spot
Thank you,
on.
Baron.
Michelle says, "Nice song," and she says, "I wrote a song called You Broke It, You Bought It, but it's much different
It's
than
different.
yours." Larry King, fabulous song and video. Big claps from everybody. And yes, my
Thank
dog
you,
looks like a
guys.
loaf of bread. That's true. We'll always go back to the dogs. For those of you who are tuning in, this is 20 Question Tuesdays, and we're always thankful to be on Austin Music TV. We're also very thankful to our friend Kirby Walker, who puts this on another platform called AustinCityJams.com. And for those of you who don't do socials and things like that, that's a great place to see lots and lots and lots
Yeah.
of musicians doing all sorts of music and all sorts of other kind of things online. So thank you, Kirby, for Austin City Jams as well. I'm on so many platforms. I don't know.
All
I'm
of
going to
them.
get more platforms. I want more platforms. I want to just put it all out there because more
Get out.
people will know about you and what you're doing. All right, back to the questions because these are fun and these are good. Let's go back to a little bit of a sort of, I don't know if it's softball, but it's probably something you get asked a lot. How did growing up in a musical family inspire your songwriting and performing career?
I do get asked that a fair amount, or
Something of the like.
questions of that nature. Yeah. Um. Well, I tell you what. First of all, music was just always around, so it just kind of it just seeped in without my sort of knowing it.
Yeah.
And you know, I didn't know it at the time, but gosh, how lucky was I? I my
Well, it
dad
was just
was.
the norm for you. You were just
It was the
growing
norm.
up.
Yeah, I was just
You
a
were
kid
just around it.
growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like so my dad was the music director for Luther Vandross for like a million years. So I would like go see them frequently and like, Luther pulled me up on stage one time. Like who does that? That's crazy. And like my grandfather, Nat Adderley, was a cornet player, and he took me to Europe, me and my sister, when I was 10. And
I
me
mean,
and my
honestly,
sister,
one of the most famous cornet players in the world. You don't have to say that, but I can. I mean, I was studying Nat Adderley lines when I was in college,
for
and
real,
you know,
I
oh
love
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. There's no question.
I love it. I love it. But
Yeah,
yeah, like we would just went on the road to Europe with him when I was 10 and my sister was 7. Like, and again, like, yeah, I was just being a kid hanging out with my grandparents, and it
you were
wasn't
just a kid.
until way later that I, like, discovered how unique my childhood had been, and how grateful I felt to have been around that. And then, I graduated from college, and it just, like, even though, family members had had all been musicians, I somehow, graduating from college, was like, "Oh, that seems illogical and doesn't seem feasible. So I'm gonna, like, go, have real people jobs." And I just was like,
Yeah,
I was an administrative assistant for a few years, and you know what I mean? I just was like, I just gotta go get a real job. And then I just, about 3 or 4 years into being an adult, was like, oh, who was I kidding? What was I doing this whole time?
yeah. It pulls you back.
I'm a musician. It does. It
Yeah,
pulled me
it,
right
it
back.
pulls you back. Yeah, it pulls you back if it's what you are. And I always like what Yogi says about it. Yogi always says, he's like, if you're good to the music, it'll take care of you, and you'll be
Hmm.
all right. And I've gotten advice like that from Yogi, and I've gotten advice like that from Ray Wiley Hubbard. It doesn't matter which side of the or which part of the music industry you're in.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I also heard Ray Wiley once say he was like, what do you want to do when you move to Texas? And I said, well, I just want to play music with people that I love and do okay. And he was like, do you want a Jaguar in your driveway? And I said, well, no, no, not necessarily. I don't need all that. And he was like, then you can do it.
There
And
you
I was
go.
like, okay, well, then I guess I can do it. And sometimes we just need to know that having a great career means playing music with people you love. And we're
Hmm.
able to do that in Austin. We're lucky that way you know.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
but
I
by,
re-
by that metric, I feel super successful. I am not nearly as famous as my grandfather and great uncle were. And I do not have a ton of money or a huge house, but I'm happy, and I have a sweet family, and I work with people that I admire and that I love being around, and whose artistry I really respect. So I feel good. I'm
and
good.
creating art that you dig. We live in this world too where we forget sometimes that the further back you go, the smaller the bubble was. If
Hmm.
you look at the world of jazz, it was a fairly small. Like look at a picture
True.
of like that Great Day in Harlem picture.
Yeah.
And it's like okay, there's like 100 people. And they
Right.
tried to get everyone.
Yeah.
And
And they got
they missed
almost
a lot.
everybody.
They really came close in that picture. It's so incredible. But that being the case, now we are competing with thousands, and we're competing with everybody, and people who do it for a couple of years, and people who do it for their whole lives, and people who educate, and people who write, and people who do this, and people who do that, and so it's a lot easier to make a record. But it's never been. It's not easier to make a great one.
No.
you know and so you have little pockets where you do well. That's definitely something I learned, whether it was with Ruthie or whether it was with Ray Wiley. It was like they had pockets where they were big, and they would go back to those pockets, and then they'd build them you
Yep.
know so anyway, regarding that, we've talked a little bit about and about before the show too, about how you're a parent, and you're a musician, and you're an educator. And without asking my own question, well, you know what? I'm just going to break the rules, and I'm going to ask my own question. Within each of those different things, it really, really seems like, I had to reinvent myself as a musician and find all sorts of things. But educators really had to reinvent themselves. Parents really had to reinvent themselves. And you kind of feel like all three, it was like, okay, I'm flipping the script on all three of these different things.
Hmm.
Um, just for the people who are out there, could you just speak to that a little bit, as far as let's start with as a parent, musician, educator. I don't know where in
Lord
there.
have mercy.
There's a
I
lot
mean,
going on. Lot
there's
to
a lot
unpack.
going on, dude. I'm tired. So the
Yeah.
school year just ended,
Yeah.
and so two of my big gigs are we're taking a breath. But
Yeah.
you know, as an educator, you know, first having to shift to completely online, and you know, having to go from, you know, being somebody who is like has a lot of physical energy and I kind of like run around the room and do things, and then trying to like put that all in a little box um was so hard. On top of which, you know, teaching music, there were certain things that were just like not really doable. I found that teaching
Yeah.
voice lessons was totally doable, but like teaching a band, like band directing, oh my
Yeah. How do you
gosh,
do
we
it?
tried so many different things and just nothing was really, you know, it wasn't the experience that the kids wanted or could really find value in. It was so hard to give them something that was inspiring and fun, and that they felt like they were creating music with each other, because it just was
Well, a lot
different.
of
It was
people, if you don't mind me breaking in, a lot of
no,
people don't
please.
know that because of the bandwidth, we can have a conversation right now, but there's this millisecond of
Yeah.
delay that is not noticeable when we're having a conversation, but as soon as you play together, Betty Sue and I tried really, really hard at the beginning. We
Hmm.
were trying this thing called Jam Kazam,
Uh-huh.
and
Tried it.
we were playing one day, and like we were playing one day, and we were like, I think I can harmonize and sing with you and play with you while you're playing, and it feels like we're there in real time. And then as soon as we put it on YouTube, it was like, it just, digital distortion. Ugh. But so
It can't be done.
imagine trying to teach a band.
Ugh, it was the worst. It was the worst. And you know, also, you know, at the school where I teach, I, um, you know, put on the shows, and I know how to put on a show. I know how
Yeah.
to rehearse the kids. I know how to teach the kids to, you know, to give it some energy and to project and all those things. I know how to teach the students to listen to each other and vibe off each other and whatever. And so there's none of that. It was all like files and computers and live streams and things that I didn't
Yeah.
feel confident in. So like as an educator, I just was like, ugh, the things I'm doing are not like not even half as cool to the kids. And then the thing that I'm presenting to the community after, you know, it's like a cumulative sort of show of what we've been working on, I'm doing it in a way that I'm not confident in and that I feel uncomfortable with, and that doesn't like really reflect the heart and the energy of the kids. And I just was like, uh. And then we, you know, we go back to campus sort of partially, so you'll have like some kids
Right.
at sometimes or whatever, and so you have to kind
Right.
of like do all kinds of coordinating and schedule arranging all the time, and you're in masks, so all the
Right.
singers are singing in masks all the time. It just was like, and also you're teaching hybrid, which means you're teaching some people in the room, but you also are teaching concurrently some people in the computer, and it just
Yep.
was like, it was madness. It was just, all of it was madness, super challenging. And then so there's that, and then at home, my daughter was at home until end of March or early April.
And how old is she?
So she's almost 8. So she was in second grade. And so, you know, my husband and I had to like just coordinate the 3 humans' schedules so that somebody's always at home to like deal with school
Yeah.
things with her. And she actually got really good with the technology and getting in her Zoom and all that kind of stuff. But
Because
you
kids are
still like,
smarter than we are.
they fully are. Oh, at this point,
They just
anytime I have a
jump right
question,
into
oh
it.
yeah, yeah.
Right? You ask her.
She's like, "Mommy, are you muted?" I'm like, "Ah."
Oh.
"Mommy, have you changed your audio settings? Have you
Yeah.
optimized your audio settings?" I'm like,
Oh, come on.
but yeah, so like I'm like helping with school stuff and you know, doing all that, and then just like coordinating our schedules to help Amelia with school. And then as a musician, like, yeah, just like figuring out what to do and how to do it, and putting videos together and doing live streams and doing all these things that, again, I just was like technology is kind of my Achilles heel, and it kind of like
Yeah.
really just taps on my, it's like anxiety town, here I
Yeah.
come.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just, oh, it was just a lot. It was a lot this year. Woo! It was a lot.
So you mentioned that you've gone out and you've done one
Hmm.
socially distant gig. Do you feel like, yeah, I've basically, long story short, when people ask me, I say there's two things that you have to know before you say yes to a gig, and one is, am I going to feel safe, and is my audience going to feel safe, and maybe in the other
Mhm.
order, is my audience going to feel safe, and I'm going to feel safe.
Right.
Um, and do you feel like when you see people going back out in Austin that for the most part you definitely felt safe
I did.
um, yesterday?
I did. I did. It
Yeah,
was like I said, it was outdoors. People were really respectful of each other's space. Um, and also, it appears that the folks that I have been around are mostly vaccinated.
yeah,
So it just it felt like a crew of responsible people who all were, had a vested interest in us all staying safe and feeling safe. So yeah, it was great. And it was just so nice to be performing in public again. I
just
saw my
doing it.
my booking agent there. She came with her daughter and her dog, and I of course recognized the dog first because that's what I do. I'm like, oh, I know that dog, and then I looked at the people that it was with, and I was like, oh, right, there you are. Um,
Dog first, of course.
and
Yeah,
when I finished the first set, I just ran up and just was so happy to see them, and just it was like it was so nice to be, back doing the stuff that I feel like myself doing, like out doing a show. That's me. Like I've still not gotten comfortable with this. Oh, hi daughter, what's up? Are you about to come be on TV
hello.
right now?
You're welcome to.
You want to come say hi? No. What's happening? Do you need snacks? Hashtag motherhood.
Oh no, that's okay. I'm gonna make you full screen so she's on TV.
There you are.
Oh, I didn't mean to make you get shy. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna be done in 14 minutes. Can you get when I'm done? Okay. That's the other thing about. So yeah, that's the other thing is like
Hashtag motherhood.
hashtag motherhood. It's all the time. You can
Yeah.
say, "Hey, Buggy, I'm gonna be in a thing on the TV or on the computer for an
Yeah.
hour," but that doesn't mean like I'm not coming in. That means
Well, and yeah, and it doesn't mean life's not gonna happen.
no. Yeah, exactly. The dog is
But
there. The child is there. They have things. They have thoughts and feelings. She's shown
so,
up on several Zooms. She's like a big hit in my Zoom performances.
oh, I'll bet. I'll bet. My dogs are much more. They have much more hits online than I do.
Totally.
Especially because Alice likes to sing when I play harmonica or melodica, and she
Oh
starts
my god.
howling, and I mean, like, what are you gonna do? How do you follow that?
You
It's
can't.
impossible. It's
Yeah.
impossible. Hey, so real quick, my buddy Lee also asked, and we mentioned our friend Betty Sue. He says,
Mhm.
"What are your best Betty Sue stories?" So I imagine you have a couple. I certainly have a couple. But if there's one that's fun, we could satisfy Lee of like a good Betty Sue story. Betty Sue is a musician we know and love, and that I've done a lot of playing with over the years, and that you've been a musical cohort with in various
Yeah.
things, whether it's with the Fayettes, with Charlie Faye, or
Yes.
many other things that y'all have done. Um, and my favorite thing about Betty Sue is that when we were on stage and we would play together,
Hmm.
um, she's very, very good with her comedy has like a very, very awesome, charming snark to it.
Yes.
You know what I
100%.
mean? She has
Hmm.
a deadpan face that can
Yep.
deliver snark and it's still somehow charming. Like if she would come and sit in with the resentments, they'd try and give it to her and it'd be like, "No, no, 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 no. You don't understand." Like she's going to give it right back,
Yeah.
you know. But that's kind of one of my favorite things about playing with her is that in between banter is always awesome.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I love Betty Sue. She's one of my very favorite people to sing with and collaborate with. I feel like I have thousands of stories, and yet I'm blanking right now. One thing
That's all right. If we think
that
of
I
one.
love, one thing that I love is that that's her singing backing vocals on "Broke,"
Oh
and I
yeah.
love what I loved is, and of course I put that together last year, so everybody's remote.
Yep.
So all I had to say to her was, for the third chorus, I need you to think Tina Turner meets "Give Me Shelter." Go. And she was like, got
Getting
it.
shelter, yeah.
And she sent me 2 takes, and I was like, yes, that is perfect. Thank you.
Done.
Done. All done. She was like, I got you. I know exactly what to do.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. I mean,
I love that girl.
yeah, I love her too. Another friend of ours, worth checking out the music of and
Yes.
following and sharing and doing all of the things. All
Yes.
right. So Steve asks an interesting question for both of us. And I think it's an interesting question, and I'm curious to your answer to it. And that is, why do so many singer-songwriters flock to Austin? And my answer is this. When I was in a van going to Dallas with Ray Wiley Hubbard, and Michael O'Connor was in the car with me, was in the van. We were on our way to Dallas, going to the Evil Empire. We saw the Death Star. We were on our way, and we were going to play a show. Ray's like, what do you want to do, you know, and or like, what's your idea about moving to Texas and that kind of stuff. It was a different day.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, I just, you know, play music, you know, da-da-da-da. And Michael was like, you just want to be where the action is, man. And what I really loved when I moved to Austin was I didn't have to get pigeonholed like I did in other cities. I didn't have to be like, you are a jazz guy or you are a funk guy, because I'm a huge funketeer, but I also, you know, like I mean like huge funketeer, and
Sweet.
but I also play bluegrass dobro and stuff like that.
Right.
Austin for me, it was like cool that I had this band and this band and this band and this band, and that was like part of the deal, and we all thought those would go. So I think that's one of the reasons. I also think it's kind of in the blood to have writers more than show people. You know,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more writing in Texas necessarily than there is in a lot of the other cities I've noticed.
Yes.
But your take as to why so many singer-songwriters flock to Austin?
Well, I mean, I can tell you why I flocked here, and I bet you it's similar. So I'm from New York mostly, but I was in LA prior to moving to Austin, and LA. I mean, I don't know if it's gotten better or not in the last 15 years that I've been here, but LA was so um cutthroat and
That's the word I was
so,
gonna say. It's
you know,
cutthroat.
and I just was
Yep.
like, no, like
Mm-mm.
I'm not interested in like climbing ladders and backstabbing people and being
And
jealous of
clicks.
people and cliques and having people be jealous of me and like having whether you get booked be, at least in, some measure about like what you look like
Yep.
and the whole
Or
pay to
someone
play
telling you what to
thing.
look like.
There's someone telling you what to look like. Exactly. I was like not interested in any of that was kind of going on in LA. So I came here because I just heard that it was a more community oriented place in terms of the music scene and a more collaborative place and that sort of stuff. And I found that to be true. I found it like I have singer friends, like female singer friends. I didn't have any female singer friends in LA. You're not friends. Like,
People don't know that's different about Austin than a lot of
oh
places.
yeah,
It's not that it doesn't happen in those other places. It doesn't. It just
it's
it's
just different.
strange to me when I first got to Austin how I was a guitar player and the guitar players wanted to know me.
Yeah,
And I was this and they wanted to talk to me and
yeah,
we kind of like, hey man, there's enough audience to go around
yeah.
in Austin. That's part of
That
the
is
people
not
in
the
Austin
vibe
too.
of
There,
LA.
you have gigs and you have
Hmm.
people that want to go to see gigs, and I mean that's a mixed bag too. It can create a sort of laziness with shows. I have a friend who
Mm,
calls it Austinitis, where people
sure.
just get up and they play their list of songs and they don't make it a show,
Right.
and everybody looks like they're going to a different party because they look like they don't look like a band.
Right.
And so those things happen because our audience is like, oh yeah, try something new. I don't care if you mess up.
Right.
If you go do that in another city, and they're like, I paid $20 to see this. I don't want to watch you
Right.
do your homework, And in Austin, they're like, do it, you
Yeah.
know. Um, yeah. So
So
just to
yeah.
say, I think community, like you said,
Yeah.
is like a big
It's
thing
great.
as to
It's
why they
like
flock here.
I think so, and it's just because it feeds you as an artist to be able to get outside of your little box, your little writing box, your little performing box, the box of your band, like be able to be asked to sit in with this band or come sing BGVs with this band or
Ain't
co-write
that the
with this
truth too,
person.
right?
It's
Right?
just like that sort of stuff happens here much more organically and much more frequently than a lot of the other music towns. And it just like helps you keep keep the juices flowing,
Yeah,
keep
and
the
it's
bubbles
kind of
popping.
nice to just, I mean, I hate to use the word that so many young people use now because it's getting overused a bit, but it's a lack of toxicity. Just that there's a lot less toxic in
Yes,
Austin music community. You know,
I
we have
agree. And that's a
Ham, we
great use
have
of that word, I would say.
Sims. Right? We have Ham and we have Sims and we have ATX musicians. You know, with
Hmm.
Scott and Nakia, and we have so many things that are specifically to keep the community together and to look out for each other, and
Hmm.
be like, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
Black
There's room
Fred
for all of
and
us.
yeah.
Black Fred, exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. There's so many things. I mean, Austin Music Television too. You know, Sheila getting on,
Yeah.
not to kiss the royal hiney because we're on TV right now, but it's good because if you look at the videos that are put up every week, it's a really really broad swath of types of music.
It
You'll see
is.
hip hop, and then you'll
Hmm.
see a folky, and then you'll see whatever, and like, man, we dig that in Austin. We dig
Yeah.
all that as long as it's good. All right, so
Yep.
we're getting close. The sound of Cabbage Alley is my little alarm that lets me know that it's time and we're getting close to be going
Ooh,
off TV.
okay.
We're going to stay online just for a minute once we leave the television station. But as we're going off on Austin Music TV, I want to thank them. Austin Music TV, Sheila Steele. I also want to thank everybody who brings
Sheila.
in questions every week. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody one last time, just because I think I only mentioned it once. We do take tips, so if you got $5-10, all I want to do is just make sure that I get a little bit of money for Akina, so that after doing this show, she can get some gas money for that next real gig, or maybe some groceries for a night or whatever.
Maybe
So
buy
we
my
thank
child
you.
a cheeseburger.
I mean, really? Like, that's all we're talking. And then also, if you want to find out more about Akina, this is the website to go to. I'm really bad at this thing. The pointing,
There
there
you
it
go.
is, right there. Okay. That's my use of technology. And like we said before, that video for Broke is up, and you can find it on YouTube and all the streaming sites and all those kind of things as well. And then my question is, I only ask one question every week, and we'll go out with this question. If you guys miss it and it goes to online, you can check out the answer there. What is your guilty pleasure music? I always love to know what people's like, and it doesn't mean you're truly guilty. I mean, it means like, okay, when I was a kid, I had songs in the key of life, and that was what made me want to be a musician. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it changed everything because it came out when I was 4, and I would sit in front of the thing. I'd sit in front of the big knob on the green Marantz, whatever, and listen
Mm-hmm.
to it come out of the speaker. And I knew every word to Sir Duke, and I didn't know anything of what he was talking about. And I didn't know what a nappy-headed little boy was, but I knew every word to I Wish. I'm 4, singing every word. And it was a big thing. But my mom would play records for me, and she played classical music, and she'd play Stevie Wonder, and she'd play all these different things. But my mom had a soft spot for Barry Manilow. And so when
Ooh.
I hear "Can't Smile Without You," I get kind of, oh,
I
and
feel
it's
you.
like, so I'm a fan of Low, and there's nothing I can do about it, and
I
it's
feel
just the
you.
way it is. So I've had people on here like, I like Spice Girls, or I like death metal, or I like this, or I like
Oh,
this. So
I'm ready
what's
for this
your
question.
what is you're ready?
Oh, I'm ready. Um,
Okay, I like it. I
my
want to know.
I don't even know if I feel that guilty, but I'm going for it. The
Fine.
hits of Toto, like Africa. If
Toto.
Africa comes, Toto. If Africa comes on, everybody
Yeah.
shut up. Nobody talk to me. I'm cranking it. I'm dancing. I'm singing real loud. If I'm driving, I might even pull over. Like Toto.
So
And
Toto was also Rosanna, right?
yep, Rosanna,
Such a great
Rosanna.
guitar. Steve Lukather guitar solo was like one of
It's
the first
so
things.
good.
Such a great. Okay, so that's a perfect example, and it's not
It's so
guilty.
good.
It's a guilty pleasure
I'm not
music that
guilty.
you're
I
not
don't feel
guilty
guilty at
about.
all.
I'm
I
gonna be
also have
listening to
a
Toto
deep and
today.
abiding love for Michael McDonald.
Oh yeah, 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 and we can go back to all the things that he did background vocals,
Oh,
whether it was Doobie
Peg!
Brothers, yeah,
Yes.
exactly, or Kid Charlemagne or
Oh,
whatever, and
yes.
Steely Dan. But then there was also the Doobie Brothers. But then
Yep.
there was Michael McDonald. Michael McDonald.
Mm,
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna get sick of that, and I'm not gonna be ashamed of
never.
that. No way.
I won't
No
be ashamed.
way. I'm gonna.
Can't shame me.
That's what I mean. It's not like I wish there was a better way to say it besides guilty pleasure.
Right.
But I always love hearing. I'm gonna be listening to some Toto today. Toto's gonna go
Oh,
up for sure. I'll be listening to Toto. That's perfect. Akina, this is awesome. Let's see. I'm gonna make sure we didn't miss any questions. And since we are off the television station right now, what we can do is we can do true calls to action. And what that means is, thank you very much for the tips, but please, please, please go to akinaadderley.com. Find out that's your way
that's
to
the
go to
hope.
all of the different platforms and find out. You have many musical projects. Do you
Hmm.
want to name a couple of things that you're working on besides teaching and being a mom right now, just
I
so
sure
people
do.
can find out
I
about
sure
them?
do.
Let's put them right here, and I can, since we're off TV, I can say go there and check it out.
Well, so I have an eclectic jazz project called Nori,
Right,
and we're at noriband.com, and we have our first
doing it
public show on Friday, June 11th at Central Market. I think it's 5:30
nice.
to 8. Yes, I'm so
All right,
psyched.
and now that
Outside.
we're off TV, you can say come on down
Oh
and
yeah, come to
go.
it. Come to
Come
it.
to it. All right.
And me and Nori are working on an LP. We're putting out a vinyl, and
Nice.
some of the songs are previously released recordings on our previous records. We're gonna put them together for vinyl. But we did record. I don't even know if I should share what the new song is. I'm not even gonna share
We
what
have
it is. You have to
surprise.
buy the
Okay.
vinyl.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's going to be a surprise.
Hmm.
All right.
So there's
I
that,
dig
and
that.
then I have various Akina Adderley and bands, but I've
Right.
been working on music just under my own name. So Broke was just under my name, and I'm working on a new single called Home Before Dark that I'll release this summer. And then the
We'll be
song that I
watching for
shared,
that.
yes, and the song that I shared with you, Plank, called "You Give Me Peace," for
Yes.
whatever that show is. I'm working on that one as well for a single for this fall. And I am doing a sweet little show at the Vortex just before their opening night of a play called Annie Jump. That's going to be on Friday,
Oh.
June 4th, and it's just going to be me. It'll be a trio, just me and a couple of guitars, and it's just going to be a sweet outdoor little sweet little night, opening up for this great play about like a little black girl who like I think becomes an astronaut.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So yeah,
But-
come see
Okay.
me.
So this sounds like you have a little bit going on.
Just a
You're
little
an underachiever, as we say in business. Akina, this has been really, really beautiful. Thank you so much for taking me up on it and coming on
bit.
here.
Yes.
And everybody, thanks for tuning in as always. This is a great way for me to stay connected to everybody that I miss so much. I will be
We miss
back as soon
you.
as I get my green card and the
Mhm.
maple curtain opens,
The,
as we
the
like to
maple
say.
curtain,
Yeah, I'm behind the maple.
iron
I'm
fist
behind
of
the
the maple
curtain.
curtain.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. No,
It's
man,
very
they're
sticky.
they're good to me up here. They're good to me, and I sure love it. There are some things that we could learn from each other's countries for sure.
Oh, I bet. I always say when people ask, I'm like, well, Canada's just better. Like I don't know
There's,
if that's
what's
up for
interesting,
debate.
and I'll talk about this really, really quickly. Is yes, but no, I'm an American, and they can kind of like smell me coming into the room. It's crazy because
Ah,
we're a little bit we're born with this strange
yep,
confidence
yep,
that we have American exceptionalism, and
yep,
that's any race, that's anybody who's born American, you have that. And when
yep.
you walk in, people kind of know. Like, I mean, it's crazy how many people knew before I would say that I was
Hmm.
American.
I'm
And
not surprised.
that's whether you're, introverted or you're a yapper like me. There's definitely some things where we're just like, oh yeah, well, I mean, like I'll ask a conservative person here
Hmm.
might be uh oh, I'm hands off government, oh, taxes are too high, et cetera,
Hmm.
which sounds very similar. But then you
Hmm.
say something about healthcare and they're like, oh, you're not taking my healthcare. You know.
That's right.
They're like, no, it works.
Yeah.
No. Healthcare is like, the rest of the world. No, we can afford it. don't
Yeah.
believe the bull.
Yeah.
Americans can afford to have health care. They just don't want to pay for it.
They
You
just
know, they
don't.
want
Yeah.
to keep you making money with pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. I've been to the doctor
Exactly.
with my wife. It's amazing. It's
My
like
gosh.
she walks in, shows a card, goes to the doctor, and then we leave.
Yeah. That's it.
That's it. It's done. You
Yeah.
know?
We
You
had to
know, so
get when we were in Paris a couple years ago. We I'm a dum dum and forgot my kid's like backup inhaler, so we ran out of
Oh yeah.
her. She's got asthma, and we ran out of her inhaler. So I had to go to the pharmacy and use my like high school and college French to like get her an inhaler, and I succeeded, which I was like, I'm amazing.
You must be proud
But
about that. Yeah, exactly.
I was so proud, and she was like, okay, cool. It's like I was like $5 or whatever. And I just was like aghast. And
You
I
almost
was
want to cry.
communicating to her that in America it's $75. And
Yeah,
she
for the
like
same
didn't
thing.
understand. She was like, surely I misheard you. And I
Yeah,
was
she's
like,
like,
no,
no, no,
no.
no, 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 not 70. You know, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's pretty crazy, and they have you bamboozled to think that those things have to be for,
Yeah.
R&D or for again because our doctors are so much better or any of those kind of crap. But it's not perfect, and although they have a better history with gay rights and civil rights here in a lot of ways, which I have noticed and does make me really happy. They have a really, really, really tough time, and they're having a really tough time working on their history with the Native Americans here.
Yep.
And it is something that is huge
Yeah.
and not an easy thing to work on because they've spent so much time and just thrown money at a problem as opposed to trying to help, integrate into society and give people real
And
chances in society.
and make systemic changes, like kind of throwing money at the problem and kind of like doing some nominal things
You
that
go
doesn't
you go
have
live over
roots,
here.
Yeah.
It's been a
That's
lot
like,
of you go over them, but they're trying, and that's another thing
yeah.
is that I see them really really trying and acknowledging it. And no matter what you think about Trudeau, that's a good thing.
Hmm.
He's apologized, which was a big start to the
Oh
conversation.
yeah.
So
And
anyway, we
let's
could
not
talk
forget,
about
he's
this.
very handsome.
Yeah, I know. I can
I have to
say
say
he's
it.
very handsome. He is
I mean,
very handsome.
it's objective. It's truth.
It's empirical. It's empirical. He's empirically handsome. And you, my dear, I have had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time talking with you. Stay online with me if you don't mind. Everybody, Akina Adderley, thank you so much. And please look her up. Please look her music up. Please share that broke video. And thanks everybody for the tips. We'll see you next week. I can't remember who I have next week. I'll put it online and post it later. I had too much fun to worry about it right now. Thank you, Akina.
Absolutely.